Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to talk about the how to get in and out of a mobile home tonight. I know that that has been our goal the entire thing of our 90-day process. Many of you are ready for me to come out and visit, and I'm ready to do that whenever you want. But let's talk about some of the things that we are going to be looking for, that you actually are going to be looking for before I actually get there, so that when I do arrive, we can go in and look at the mobile homes that you have selected together and determine what is a good deal and how to make an offer. Those of you that I have already worked with, I know Edith, Nicholas, Roman, Lance, that's already closed on a home. If you want to chime in at any time and talk about your experience, that is very helpful to everybody in the class, because everybody learns from each other, and you can kind of let them know what the experience was like for you. And no pressure. There's no anything going on. We're all friends here. And I'm also going to ask Chris to talk about a little bit of something that he's run into today. So let's learn from each other if we can. Fair enough?
Sure.
Great. Thank you. Okay, you're going to hear some of the things that I'm going to repeat over and over again. That's only because they're very, very important. If you're thinking that I'm just overkill, please don't think so, because the things that we talk about are things that, if I repeat it's because it matters. So we've already talked about, we've built the buyer's list. We all have heard the buyer's list till we've been blue in the face. That dummy Craigslist ad that you all have been using, post it again, every 48 hours, hit it, because the marketing only works if you use it. If it doesn't, if you don't get the numbers that you want right away, that's okay. Just be persistent. It will happen. The seller's list, you know all about that. We've talked about that with Craigslist. We talked about driving for dollars. We've talked about bandit signs. So those are the things I still want you to continue to do as we start going through the process of buying a mobile home. The things that we've started, the very foundations that we began, those are very key elements. So please just continue doing what you're doing. We talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about marketing. When you go into mobile home parks, and I specifically mentioned parks, you can be doing mobile homes on private land. That's fantastic. But most of us are looking primarily in mobile home parks because that's that's what mobile homes typically are. Um, so let's talk about what you're going to do when you're driving through the mobile home parks and when you actually walk into the office and talk to the park owner or manager. You want to know which parks are most investor friendly. Now, one of the things, and Lance, I'm going to use you since you are here local and we have a lot of 55 plus parks. You're going to learn that a lot of them are not as investor friendly as they think they are. They don't realize really what it is that we do. So if you go into a 55 plus park and you're under 55 or under a certain age, it may be 45, whatever the age that they deem it to be. A lot of them are going to be, you have to be a certain age or whatever. That's okay. We have ways of getting around that. If you have a 55 plus park or an adult only park that, for whatever the reason they are, then and you're not that age, it's just a matter of having someone on your power team who is that age. Someone who can go in, be age qualified with the park, and be background check, credit check, all those things, so that we can get into the home and get it fixed up and ready to turn it over. Because we're not going to let that home go to just anybody that's not age qualified. We're going to put someone who is qualified in that home so that the park is happy and everybody's happy. So don't let something as simple as, I'm not age qualified, stop you. If you go into a mobile home park and they are just really, really not open to what we think as investors, they just may not understand what it is that you do. They don't. A lot of people have the misconception, or at least this is something I've run into. They have the misconception that we are there and just going to take over the park and we're going to just put anybody and everybody in it. That's not true. And we just have to kind of, educate them and explain to them exactly what it is that we're doing, that we're trying to help, them fill an empty lot that they can get park rent from, and we're going to put someone in it that is qualified for the park. So a lot of times it's only about education. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to be falling on your team and all that, but many times it does matter if once they understand, who you are. Obviously, we need to know how much the lot rent is for that park. It can range from, I know here I've seen it as low as $258. That's with absolutely zero amenities. I mean, it's just that just means you can park your home or live in the home that is on my land. They don't include anything else. Then I've seen it go as high as $800, and that's usually the higher end parks that they offer everything, and then homes in those parks are fairly nice very nice homes, and they're spaced further apart, different things going on there. So it's very important, though, that we know, because depending on what our clientele is looking like, we have to know that the park rents are going to be compatible with what we need to make on our mobile home, and it's not going to be over the amount for the clients that we are serving. Ask your park managers or owners, or whoever you talk to that day, what amenities are included in the lot rent. Um, Typically here it's water, sewer, lawn maintenance, trying to think, anything that's going on in the clubhouse, trash, pool, all the things that goes on there. Again, some of them say nothing, depending, I guess, on what they're charging, and then others may include other benefits. Sometimes there's basic cable or whatever. Just jot all those things down. Make you a file folder or something that you can, or make you a folder on your computer where you can put the name of the park and then jot down all the amenities, what the lot rent and things like that are. And that way you've got that as a fluid thing that you can work from every time that you've got a new buyer or that you're looking for a new home. Very important to know whether the park is pet friendly. Here's something I ran into, and it's just funny because you think that the park that you're in, especially when you've had three mobiles in that park. We had a park manager give us a mobile home because he knew that we were investors and that we had worked in his park before, and we had a good relationship, when we worked with him. So we, hadn't had any trouble whatsoever. We saw pets, and we saw people walking their dogs and all kinds of things. Um, anyway, he gave us this mobile home. The gentleman who had lived there had passed away, and he just basically wanted somebody to come in and clean it out and, fix it up and put somebody in it so he could get his lot rent out of it. That's exactly what we did. Had a gentleman, as we were rehabbing it, come in to look at it. He was in the park driving around, saw that we were there, got out, looked at it, because we had a for sale sign I told you, as soon as we have it under contract and the ink is on the paper, I stick a for sale sign in the window and start marketing. Anyway, he was driving through, saw the for sale sign in the window, got out, came in, talked to us, was ready to buy that day. Didn't even have it completely rehabbed, but he needed to move because where he was living, I forget, there was something going on. He had to leave. So he was going to go talk to the park manager, get everything set up, and then we had maybe 4 or 5 days left to finish it, and he was going to be moving the following week. Ask about pets. Yeah, it's pet friendly. Everything because he had a small dog. He goes and talks to the park manager, and lo and behold, that was not a pet-friendly park. The park manager clearly said no pets, and I'm like, seriously, because we had seen pets in the park, and so it didn't work out. We wasn't able to rent there because he had a pet. While we were still working on it, like 2 days later, somebody was walking by because we got a photo of it. Somebody walked by and they had 2 dogs on a leash walking through the park. So I asked Mike, the park manager, about it, and he's like, well, just because some people break the rules doesn't mean it's okay. So again, just learning from my experience, just ask, save yourself a lot of grief, because we thought we had it sold before we even finished it, we didn't. We ended up having to wait another week or two, but just ask and save yourself some grief. Those who do have pet friendly, a lot of times they will have restrictions, how many pounds the pets can be, how many you can have, whether they're dogs or cats, and whatever, and a breed restriction. Almost all of them have breed restrictions. that I've run into anyway. Is it a family park? Those are few and far between here, but I'll bet you, and probably not in all the other areas. I think in Chicago, Edith, didn't you all? You all had several that were family parks. I don't think we ran into any when I was with you that was age restricted, were they?
No, they were family friendly, all of them.
Good, because here those are few and far between. So likely most of you won't run into the same problems that we have here locally. Not that it's necessarily a problem, because when we have snowbirds who come down in a few months, that's what they're looking for. But if we do
Mhm.
have a family that's looking for a park, we're stretched to find one. Age restricted, I talked about that a little bit last week. Remember when I said we had a mobile home that we had set up for the boys? Um, they are both adults, but neither one of them was 40. And we didn't know that someone who needed to be 40 to live there before they could live there, but that it worked out fine. We sold it. Also, if it's deed restricted, did they own the land that it's going to be on? Is there any kind of things weird going on with that? We don't run into that a lot here. And if it does happen, there's usually a sign. There's usually a thing on the sign when you pull into the park that will say a deed restricted community, but that if there's, it doesn't hurt to ask, just to be safe. Background and credit check required. I have only run into one park that doesn't require that, or didn't require that. I think they do now. But just ask, because you're going to want to know how much that costs, and if it's for everyone that, every adult that's going to live in the park that's over 18, or is it just for the person whose name is going to be on the title, or how is that going to work? Um, and you will have to probably, well, I've always had to um, get a background and credit check if we buy in the park. That's just one of the things that we have to do. We just jump through the hoop. But typically, if you get a background and credit check for that park and you invest in it once, you don't have to go back and have it done again, because once you were park approved, you're always a park approved, or at least that's how it is here. So that cost is usually just a one-time thing for us, but then that's something you need to pass along to whoever's going to buy it from you. Is it owner occupied or renter friendly? If they don't mind for you to rent a mobile home in their park, that's great. Because if you're going to do some buy and holds, that's your goal. Many parks don't want you to rent um, to anyone, but that's okay, because we can make them owner occupied, because we can then offer a lease option. A lease option is just the same thing as if we go out and sell, buy a car. My car is my car. If anything happens to it, I am responsible for it, but I have to pay a payment to Honda. And so, Honda just is the bank for me. So we are acting as a bank for the owner who is going to be living in that mobile home. So it will be owner occupied, and we are the bank, and all the things that go along with that mobile home then is theirs to take care of. If the toilet has a problem, then they are responsible for that, because they own that home. They're just making payments to me. Um, and if there's any other requirements for park approval, there could be many, and there may be none. I know that there's some parks that will limit how many you can buy in their park. Some don't. I know we've got one park that you can only have two. I was in a park last week where you could only have three, and then I've been in parks that don't care how many you have. If they've got empty mobiles and you can fill them up, then they're all about it. Just those are just really good questions to ask your park managers and owners, not only because they're pertinent information for you, but also it shows them that you are on their team and that you want to work and develop a really healthy relationship with them. Okay.
No.
Okay. What are we looking for when it comes to when you're driving around? um, and looking at mobile homes, and you see those for sale by owners, or you see when you go into the park office and you see on the bulletin board that they have mobile homes for sale, and you want to look at them. We want to know what year they are built. Um, a lot of the mobile homes here seem like they're older. I mean, I guess it depends on what park you're in, but many of them are older. You want to make sure that they pass code inspection. So I think it's like 1970. Somebody remind me, is it 76 or 78? Does anybody remember? I want to say it's 78. But
I think
I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I was listening to the video Greg did. I think he said 79.
79, and I was off a year. Um, So yeah, those have different codes and everything. So we really want you to look at that whenever you are looking to buy your mobile homes. But when I say that, I will say that I own several mobile homes that are built in the 60s. Now I don't know what everybody's market is like, but I do have several that are built in the 60s. Um, and I wouldn't have someone in them if I felt they were unsafe and and all that. So when I tell you that, I want to tell you honestly,
I did not
see
show
and make
you
sure that you're the one that built and use your best judgment on that. Now, I've got a, I'm not sure.
photos.
Someone's got a pet. I'm going to mute just for a minute, okay? Not sure who it is. All right. Thank you. Be aware of the neighborhood, and then we're not going to be, you know, when I say this, I'm trying to be tactful. Look around and make sure that your neighborhood is safe. We don't want you to go into a neighborhood that you feel unsafe in. You're going to be working in a home, and you don't want to feel like you have to go in with your car doors locked and run in as fast as you can get in and lock the door behind you and not peep out. And we don't want to put people in a neighborhood that they feel unsafe in. And it's all about, getting this mobile home turned as fast as possible. And we want people to be happy while they're there and be happy with our services, because word of mouth is really your best advertisement. So please be, mindful of the area that you're in. Look around and see if you see people. Usually now here locally in the mobile home parks that I'm in, there's usually a nice flow. You'll see people, on their little golf carts, or they're walking up and down the streets, and people will wave at you. They're typically fairly friendly here. They'll speak when they when they see you several times, they'll learn that you're there working or something, and they'll speak to you and ask questions. So just be very mindful of the neighborhoods that you're in. Again, please don't go into a neighborhood that you feel unsafe in. That's certainly not something that we want you to do, and we don't want to encourage you to buy something that you can't turn quickly enough, and that you would be hesitant to sell to someone. um Something we can't go, just think about what your clientele would be like too. We definitely want a motivated seller for obvious reasons. The more motivated they are, the less you'll have to pay, because they want out, and that is what we're aiming for. So if you can find someone that's a motivated seller, most of the people that you were going to run into, I'm not going to say most of them, that many of them aren't motivated. You might run into some that they got it out there, they want to sell it, but they're kind of unrealistic about how much it's going to bring in because they're attached to it. Well, they're not motivated yet. The longer it sits on the market, the more motivated they're going to be. And that it has a clear title. That's obviously something that we have to look for, because we don't want to have any kind of problems in the background running whenever we go to close. We don't want to have to be something that we owe, or that they end up owing and it shoots us down at the very end to where, we don't get the property.
Rhonda,
Yes.
what kind of questions do you ask about that on the title? I mean, from what I understand, it's more like a car rather than real property.
Yes, you're right.
Um,
Go ahead.
I just wonder whether there's anything that you can ask that,
I ask.
or it's something you have to research yourself.
No, I ask, and you're going to be a buyer. You're in the buyer position, and you kind of be tactful about it. Just ask if they owe anything on the property, and if they say no, say, is it free and clear? Is the title free and clear? Um, just ask. It's people who are selling have to understand that these are things that a buyer wants to know. and they may tell you yes, and then you find out later that they're not being truthful about it. If that's the case, it's going to be on the title. Whenever you go to close on a property, you're not going to actually. There's not going to be any money exchanged without you seeing a title in their hands. I encourage, and I think, and Lance, if I can't see if you're still on the call or not because I switched over where I can see my screen, but I encourage students to get a photo or something of the title a couple of days or a week or so before the closing date happens. That way you can actually see on the title if there's a lien holder. Now, if someone doesn't want to provide that to you, that's a red flag to me, but it may not be a deal breaker. They just may be cautious and don't want to, disclose. I don't know. But before you actually sign anything or before you actually exchange money, you want to make sure that the seller, has a title in hand on the day that this closing is going to take place. Then you're going to glance at it. You're going to make sure that there's not a lien holder that is specified on that title. Does that make sense? Let me see.
Yes.
Okay. Lance, are you still with us? Yes, there you are. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, you'll actually see a little spot where it says lien holder, and there'll be a blank there, so you can actually inspect that in the picture and kind of check everything over, make sure it all looks kosher. And most people that are motivated have no problem sending you a picture of that if they have the title. Some people, I'm talking to someone right now, as a matter of fact, they can't. They said they just got to work and they don't have the title with them. So sometimes you got to wait a couple days. But it's good to get the title and a picture at least if you're not in the area where they are.
Right. And if they say they don't have the title, then they need to go to the DMV and get one. That is their responsibility, not yours, because you really can't do anything without the title. Because as soon as you close on that mobile home, excuse me, you within the next day or so, or right away, you are going to want to go down to the DMV and get that mobile home registered in your name. Excuse me. I've got a frog in my throat. Take your license, a copy of your LLC, anything like that with you, the title that you get from the seller, and take it down to the DMV, and they'll get you registered and give you the new stickers and everything for your home. So when you're in an actual mobile home, if you've already gotten inside one because the park has one for sale, or you contacted a for sale by owner, or for whatever reason, and you're able to go in and look at one, these are the things I want you to look for. Now, whenever I come to see you, I will go with you, and we are going to look for these things together, and we will walk through it and go over it with a fine-tooth comb. But these are the things that you can look for without me to determine if this is something that you want us to visit together while I'm there. Check for soft spots in the floors. When you're walking, if it feels a little cushy or a little weak, that is, it's not a deal breaker, because some places may have a few spots and there may be places that have a lot. Just if there are a lot, that is an indicator that you may have to put in new subflooring, and that's something that you would have to budget for. So just keep that in mind, because it may be that may be the one thing that puts you over budget. Again, it may not be a problem whatsoever. It may just be a couple of spots that we just have to reinforce. But just be mindful when you're walking. If the whole mobile home feels like you're going to step on the floor and go all the way through to the bottom, that's probably a red flag. But just pay attention to those things. Look for watermarks on the ceilings. If there's like any type of little brown, type of mark, or it looks like they've painted over, you can tell it's been different kind of paints and something's fresh. It could be because there was a leak. And that's something that we want to know. Again, not a deal breaker, but we want to know if the whole roof needs to be repaired or replaced, or maybe whatever it is, tarred over. Again, that's just something that we need to know. And if you see a lot of watermarks, or if you feel a lot of soft spots, it's okay to ask about them. You are a buyer. It is your right to know. They may tell you the truth, they may not. But if you start asking questions, a lot of times people will start talking and things will spill out. Check for pests. Here locally, there's termites everywhere. It's Florida. We have bugs, lots of them. But check for termite wings, rodent droppings. When you open a cabinet doors, anything scurrying out. That's always pleasant. But yeah, open some doors and closets. I think I've told you before, I don't care what their cabinet situation looks like, and I don't care what kind of housekeeper they are. I don't care. But I do care if I'm going to have to bring in an exterminator in, or if I'm going to have to put somebody besides myself in there to kill those things. That's just one of those expenses that, that's one of those things that we have to budget for. So just be aware if you see signs of pests. Leaking pipes. The main place I see this almost always is under the sink in the kitchen. I mean, I run into it more often than not. I've had a few that haven't happened, but if you open up that cabinet door under the sink, there's almost always a warped cabinet area space underneath where the pipes are. Just have to fix that. It's an easy fix. But look for it, because if it is, then you just have to reinforce that cabinet. It's, again, not a huge deal, but just be aware if there's any leaking pipes, under the bathroom sink, something like that. Again, easy fix, just, you want to budget for it. And any type of major renovations, we've had them before. Remember I told you I had the $100 mobile home that we bought? That one needed a new roof because there was a gigantic, you could look up in the bedroom, you could go and look up and see the sky. It needed some walls where the water had come in and gotten all wet, so we had to replace some walls. The floor had rotted out where the water had gotten in, so we had to put new subflooring in it. It was only $100, so I mean we were okay. It was fine, but those are major renovations. Sometimes you'll have broken windows. That's not a huge deal. You can go get plexiglass, which most of them are made with have plexiglass in them, or at least here they do. I can't speak for everywhere. That you can just go get some and then you can cut it. It's very, very simple to do that and put it in. But obviously the more renovations you have to do, the more you're going to budget for it, and the more you have to charge, or it cuts into your profit. One of the things that I run into a lot here is the shower walls. If they don't have some kind of a waterproof thing around them, and a lot of them don't, then they get really moldy, or not necessarily moldy, but they have that black, where mildew is built up and things like that, and they just look really unpleasant. You can get some stuff. I can't tell you exactly what the name of it is, but if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or any of your home improvement stores, you can get the stuff that surrounds the shower in sheets and cut it down. We have a saw and we just cut it, and they measure it and cut it, and it glues up there. Very easy fix here. So if you run into those types of things, just remember, just make sure you budget for it. I promise you, I have probably ran into most of the things that you're going to run into. So if you are looking at deals before I actually get there, and you will be, and you have questions, call me or text me or email me or whatever, and I will kind of give you an idea how we can fix it, because I've run into, I think we've run the gamut here. Okay. While you're there, take a notebook or something, some way. If you've got something on your phone that you can take notes, or however you want to do it. If you've got somebody with you, that's fantastic. Take notes and photos. You're going to want to remember, because you're going to see so many different homes that they're going to start running together. So put down the address of the mobile home, or what park it's in, or whatever it is that you need to do to remind yourself which mobile home you're looking at, and take notes. Does it have broken windows? Many of them do. Does it need some doors? Do they need to be replaced? Because mobile home doors are a little different than, say, standard doors that you would buy. You may have to go to a mobile home shop for that, because they're smaller. Bathroom fixtures, shower area, anything that you see that needs to be replaced or needs your attention, jot it down. All things kitchen. Kitchens and bathrooms are huge selling points in any home, and in mobile homes too. So if you go in that kitchen and you see that the countertops just look, you can paint countertops. They make paint for those. Do they need new cabinets? Or I'm not necessarily new cabinets, but do the cabinets need to be refaced? Can you sand them down and stain them or paint them? It may just be a simple matter of cleaning them up really good and putting new knobs or something on them. Anything that makes it bright and shiny. May just be a new lighting fixture that will set the whole thing, pull it all together. I don't know. Just anything that you can see that just sparks your interest, jot it down. And if it's a renovation, certainly jot it down, because we want to be able to budget for that. Flooring. I don't think I've been in any mobile home yet, except for the one that I bought, that I told you about, that we did nothing to at all because it was just ready to go. But that's the only mobile home I've been in that I've not replaced the flooring. I personally, depending on what area you live in, we're in Florida, so carpet's not the best way for us to go here necessarily, just because it's sandy and hot. But you can get like a roll of that laminate that looks like hardwood, and people love that. I don't know, but they love it here. So that's up to you, whether you use carpet or laminate, whatever you want to use. That's entirely up to you. Walls, do they all need paint? More than likely they will. The water heater, how old is it? And if you don't know, if you don't want to ask, you can look at the water heater and it'll have a date on there. If you don't want to look at it or ask the question while you're there, I'll certainly help you do that while I'm with you, because that's something I'm going to want to know. Does it even give out hot water? That's a really good question. Does it have heat and air? In Florida, we want air for sure, especially in a mobile home. It's hot, and they get hot very fast. I'll bet you in Chicago you're going to want heat. So ask
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, now, does it work? Yeah, that's an important question. Does it work? And a lot of people want to know if there's washer or dryer or washer dryer hookups. I think most of mine have had them. But typically the mobile home parks will have a laundry area on site. Not always, but I think that's more often than not they do. But anyway, a lot of people just want to know. You may not care one way or the other, but I would make note of it if they do or if they don't, because if people are asking for that, or they may ask you when they call you, then clearly that's something you just won't be able to answer. And then just check out around the exterior. Does it just need some, maybe pressure washing to clean it up? It may need nothing. It may just need some landscaping done, or get some weeds out around it, or something like that. Just, make sure you take notes of everything that you see or can think of. Now, for like Edith, Nicholas, Roman, Lance, anybody that's done one, recently or since whatever that I've worked with you on, if I left anything out that you can think of?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What I'm finding on mine, sometimes it's what you can't see. So like if the owner's not there, you might pull the carpet back in certain places and just double check underneath to see what the floor looks like. I found out that mine was a two-bathroom, and the front bathroom shower was leaking underneath the carpet. And so there was this huge wet spot underneath. It wasn't actually wet, but it was all like waterlogged a little bit. So that can add to your rehab cost a little bit if you have to replace more flooring than you thought.
Yeah.
So sometimes it pays to pull back the curtain a little bit on certain things, especially flooring, and try to see the water heaters, because they hide them inside little places underneath the showers or in the sides of the mobile. So you always want to look at that stuff and see if the water heater's been leaking or something like that. Kind of be nosy a little bit and ask the tough questions, because it'll save you money in the long run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you'll get used to asking those questions. And if you don't feel comfortable asking them before I get there, if you just want to do a walkthrough and ask questions that you can think of, that's okay. It's fine, because when I get there, I'll ask questions, won't I? Those of you who've had me, don't I ask questions?
Yeah.
As you do.
I ask a lot of questions because I want to know. And I will look. I will look up, blatantly look up to see if the ceiling has water spots. I will, it's just one of those things, and you'll get used to it because you'll learn as you do it. You are the buyer. You have a right to know, and they are the seller, and they don't really necessarily want you to know anything bad. But before you spend your money on it, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. Make pictures. Most people don't mind, and if they do, then they do. But if I'm going in there and doing them, I want to know what. Again, it just helps me remember which mobile home it was, what it was I saw while I was in there, and just keeps things together for me, for my organization. Okay?
Rhonda,
Yes.
Um,
something else I would recommend. When you mentioned the exterior and somebody mentioned pulling back the curtain, so mobile homes have a curtain around the outside, right?
Yes.
You want to look underneath the curtain, behind the curtain.
Skirting.
skirting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. That's a very good point. Go ahead.
First, you want to do that after you leave.
I didn't understand the whole question. Please say it again.
You don't want to look under the exterior when you first arrive. You want to look at it last. And the reason for that is when you're inside the unit, every time you come up to a faucet or a toilet, you run the water, right?
Right.
So when you go to the exterior, now when you look underneath the curtain, any leaks in drain lines are going to show up. But if you look at the exterior before you start running water, you won't see those leaks.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Here, that's a little trickier because most of the places here, at least all my parks, I don't want to pretend like I've been in all of them. I haven't, but in all of my parks, they are usually skirted with like some kind of brick or something. They'll have some kind of stone things that that they've stacked. So it's a little more tricky here, but you're exactly right.
They have to have an access panel because anytime there's a leak, a plumber's got to go under there and fix it. So there's always going to be an access panel.
That's a very good point. Thank you.
Along those lines, if you're one of these people that thinks, oh, my flashlight is on my telephone, well, underneath a 50-foot trailer, do you think your light on your phone is going to go all the way down to the far end? So unless you want to crawl up under there, you need to take a powerful LED flashlight.
It's a good point. Very good point. Steve,
I was just going to comment on your outside AC units.
Yes.
The date is going to be on that tag.
Yes, sir. You're right.
So that you can discern what, from appraisal days, that was one of the things, we would talk to people and ask them about that as far as for value. And as you say, you got to be tactful and discreet, but you can ask them questions that are obvious. And if they're not going to be truthful with you there, then they're probably going to hide other things too.
You're exactly right. And as a buyer, you have every right to know.
Yeah, another thing I was going to suggest when you're checking, like you're saying around the shower stalls and the kitchen, that kitchen is going to be a little more obvious. But like in the bathrooms and that, if you got to be careful because you don't want to punch a hole in it. But if it's weak in that, then you've got some harder problems, whether it's overflow or gotten wet. Then the drywall or the paneling or even the base molding is going to be soft.
Exactly. Exactly. So these are all very good points, and I'm glad that you all are sharing because that's how we learn from each other. So thank you all for sharing. Again, all these things are not necessarily deal breakers. It depends on how much you're going to get for the mobile home to begin with, but there's certainly things that we have to think about because it adds to our cost. And, we want to be very mindful of our expenses. So yes, you're exactly right. Okay, let's move on. When you're looking at the mobile homes, even before I get there, and certainly after I get there, we'll talk about it. We want to consider which strategy we would use for this particular home. Is it going to be something that we're going to do a quick sell on? We're going to fix it and sell it? Is it going to be something that you want to buy and hold? Again, that's going to matter too if you have a rent-friendly mobile home park. So it may not necessarily apply to every single one of them, but if they do, then you want to think about if it's something that you want to buy and hold, or if you want to do a lease option. For every single one of those, there's a different thing to think about with your strategy. For your quick sale, you want to think about how much do you want out of it? How much do you need out of it? Number one, based upon what you have in it, plus how much profit. So remember all the things that that you have into the home. How much did it cost you to buy the mobile home? How much did it cost you to rehab it? How much lot rent have you paid on it since you've been there? Because if you turn it around really fast and you've only paid a month's lot rent, that's not going to be as big of a deal than if it's been sitting there for 3 months, which we don't want it to. But if it happens and the lot rent's $500, then that's an extra $1,500. So be mindful of that, because you want to make sure that you get your money back and make a profit on it. If you want to tie into your other expenses, like if you had to pay $100 for a credit and background check, that's something that you might want to think about. That's another expense. So just be really mindful of the strategies when you're considering your strategies about the cost that you've got into it. If you're thinking about renting it, then go to Rent-A-Meter online and see what the rents are running in the area that your mobile home is sitting in. Because if the lot rent is $500 and you are going to want $300 or so a month for the mobile home, then you've got $800 that you want to look and see what the rents are running in that area. And if apartments and other places are renting for that much or higher, that's a very good thing to market whenever you're putting your ads in Craigslist and other places. You can rent cheaper than you can rent a mobile home and buy it and own it. And well, they won't be owning it, but you can rent a mobile home and have a home for less than what you're paying for an apartment or whatever. Lease option, you can build an amortization schedule around that, and you can see exactly what your principal and interest is going to be. They have a tool on that for REI Black Book, and I'm pretty sure on RESS software they have a tool for that too. Okay, and if you have the RESS software, I'm positive they do. I've got it, and I've not used that piece of it before, but I'm positive they do. Greg has a really good YouTube video that talks about the RESS software. If you go to his YouTube channel at Gregory Downing, and you click on it, it's like 20 something minutes. It's very good if you want to watch it. And I'll show you how to do your amortization schedules. And then I've got one too I can share with you. I don't mind doing it all. Randy, you've done it for us, and you can play with the numbers on it too. I think did I flip that to you guys, Edith, Roman, Nick? I flipped that to you guys, didn't I? The amortization schedule. Okay. It's been a long time, I think.
Oh, we didn't hear you, Rhonda. What did you say?
Sorry. The amortization schedule, whenever we were talking about that for your mobile homes, on the one that Randy did, that you could go in and change the numbers around. Did I flip that to you on Excel?
Actually not.
I don't think
We didn't use that.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I wasn't sure. So it's all good. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Making offers. Okay, now this is something I really, really, really hope that we do together. But if you see one that you just have to do something about, please, 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 please send me pictures and everything. Let's talk, okay? But I really hope I'm with you for this piece of it. When you make an offer, we need to think about building our budget. We want to take the notes that we used during the process of when we were looking at the home. Remember when I told you to take notes and photos? And if you decide that this is a mobile home that you want to invest in, we want to build a budget around the repairs and rehab that we see that will be needed. Okay? Now, you may not be able to come down with an exact dollar amount, but you're going to kind of figure out, you'll eventually get to the point that you're fairly good at it from the get-go. Again, on REI Black Book and on RESS software, there is a tool in both of those pieces of software that will help you determine a budget if you're not sure. And you can put in like square footage, and then it'll break it down by room or whatever. So that will help you if you need that kind of help. You'll eventually get to the point that you can just kind of give it a glance and you kind of have an idea. Don't let someone tell you that it needs a lot more than it does. Because we are not in this to, we don't necessarily want to buy a mobile home and make that mobile home the high-end mobile home for that community. Because if we've got a mobile home that's sitting in a community that commands a $10,000 price point for the homes in that community, and we put $20,000 in our mobile home, we're still not going to get $20,000 out of it for that park. It's just not going to happen. We are going to get out of it what that park commands. So please, 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 let's talk before we let somebody convince us otherwise. I'm not saying it's not something that can't happen, especially if you're doing a mobile home on private property or land that's going to be going with that mobile home. That's completely a different story. But if we are in a mobile home park and all the mobile homes in that park look about the same, we want to stay within the standards of the park that we are in, because we're not going to make extra money just because we put extra into it.
Rhonda?
Yes.
I realize that we're concentrating on the parks. For some bizarre reason, I have more sitting on their own land.
That's wonderful.
Do you want to just discuss that with me, or should I bring up questions as we go? Or
I'm happy to answer them as we go, because if they're important to you, they may be important to other people too.
Well, it's just that I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but I'm looking at properties, and there are several REOs out here, and but looking at what they sold for 2 or 3 years ago when they purchased it, and what the properties are around them are going for, it just blows my mind. I mean, as an example, I mean, I'm looking at ones that are from 20 to 50,000, and yet properties around them are selling for 150. I mean, is that something I should be jumping on, or?
It depends on the mobile home and why, because mobile homes depreciate where other homes appreciate. So
Right.
I'm not saying yes or no. It would be dependent upon the mobile home. It would be dependent upon how much land it is on. It's got a lot of factors that we would have to consider.
Okay.
That's something that, yeah, if you can get me some idea, is it stuff that you're finding as you're driving around? Is it something you're finding on Craigslist?
A little of all of it.
Okay. That's definitely something we should talk about. And not because the only reason I'm saying that is not because I want to exclude everybody else, because I'm happy to share everything I know. It's just that there's different factors that we would have to consider, and I would have to see it and work on it as a case thing. Okay.
Okay.
Something we can certainly definitely discuss, and then as we figure it out, we can definitely share it with the whole group as we.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. We'll determine a high-low offer. We want to determine what is our bottom dollar amount. I will not go a dollar more when we're making a high offer. And then we are going to offer really, really low. We're going to go in low, but we are going to know in our head that if we are going to wiggle and negotiate it all, we will not go over this amount, period. Now, I've done that with you guys, didn't I? I know I did with Lance, because I've just did it recently. And we talked, and whenever I was with you guys in Chicago, we did the same thing, right?
Yes.
We talk about how much this is. We won't go over a dollar. We won't go a dollar more, and you'll be surprised. Some people are not motivated and they're not going to take it, but then you're going to have those who are. So I promise you, but we will figure that out because we don't want to make spend $1 more than we have to.
Rhonda, can we share our experience with our first offers?
Go ahead. I'd love for you to share it with everybody.
We make offers for 5 homes, for 5 different mobile homes.
That's when I was.
And one of them, the people were asking $5,000 for it, and we make offer 2,000, and the people accepted. So you know, you never know
That's exactly
what they're gonna accept. It. They were really, really motivated to sell their home.
Yes.
So the thing is, don't be scared to make low offers.
That's exactly right. Because when we left every single home, we talked about how much we would offer on that home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
we talked about it because when we were traveling, we would be in the road because when I was with them, I think I had my iPad. I had something with me, and we talked about all the things that we saw while we were in that home, and discussed everything while we were traveling, so that we
Right.
had a strategy before I left. This is how much to offer. This is how much. This is the most we'll offer on it, and those types of things. By the time I got home, I was in Chicago with them. And they did all, you know, but when I was on an airplane, they were working hard because by the time I got to my home off the airplane from Tampa to Clearwater, about 30 minutes, they called me and they had an offer accepted. So she's
Yes.
right. Don't you know, don't think that you have to offer we're not going to offer what they want. You know, we're just not going to.
Exactly.
And Lance, you had a positive experience because our girl was asking what she started out at 48, and then she was motivated at 2 or something, right? And then,
Yep.
so you want to share your experience, or you? No.
Yeah, well, she advertised it for 4,800, I think, and then I called her and she said I gotta leave here by tomorrow, so I really need to sell it, so just make me an offer. I think she ended up having back park rent at like $1,525. So that kind of stuck a wrench in some of the things because the park wouldn't approve us without paying that park rent. So we had to work it out with her to make sure that I said, look, I'll just pay your back park rent and you give me the title at the same time. And so we gave her a little walking money, probably paid too much in hindsight, but to get your feet wet, it was worth it. And so now I'm just kind of rehabbing it. And something cool that I had an experience, we were cleaning out the mobile home a couple days ago. Several people, one lady came over from next door and offered us tools to help us remove some of the trees that were sticking out in front.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people were driving by saying, thank you, thank you. It was just so bizarre. The community wanted to see that mobile home fixed up.
Right. I told you, when you start working in some of these mobile home parks, you'll get a feel. Remember we talked about neighborhoods a little while ago. You get a feel for how the park is, and a lot of times when they get to know you, they're very tight in the communities, and they'll welcome you, and they're very personable. So at least they are here locally anyway. Once you have developed your budget and your high-low offer, it's time to get with the seller. Whether you do it by phone, an email, face-to-face, however you want to do it to make an offer. And you're going to offer low. And then we wait. And waiting for me is the hard part because I want to know. But, some of them you don't have to wait. They're going to tell you, if you're on the phone, they're going to tell you face-to-face, either one, they're going to tell you no. But then you have some that, they will think about it and then get back with you. And sometimes you will hear a no, and then, a few days, a week, whatever pass by, and then you might get another phone call that says yes, because they've thought about it, they've not had any other offers, and all of a sudden your offer's looking pretty good. So, again, don't be discouraged if they say no, because we get a lot of no's, but we don't need all of them to be yeses. We just need a yes to happen. And again, a lot of times it may be about touching the people as far as reaching out. If they say no and we see that it's still out there, a week, 2 weeks later, we may send them an email or something, put a little email campaign together and reach out to them and remind them, that our offer still stands. Hope you're doing well. I see that your home is still available. I would like to re-extend my offer. And it may just be that, once you've talk to them a little bit and you touch them a little bit extra with some contact that they may, be ready to sell them. Okay. Now, once your offer is accepted, and all these things that I am talking to you, I will be with you during all of these things. Now, some of these things you will do before I get there. I will assign them to you and you will have them done. But these are things that when I get there, we will definitely go over again, because we're going to go through the mobile homes that you select to be the ones that you think you may make a deal on. We're going to go through those together. And this is definitely another one of those things when we talk about making an offer and all those things that we're going to continue to work on together. I'm just giving you a heads up of what to expect. And, kind of, this is part of the process. So once we get an offer accepted, we're going to either sometimes they want a little deposit. We try to stay away from that if at all possible. We can do a letter of intent. Remember, Tony Ray talked about that in the contract portion a few weeks ago. Sometimes it happens a little faster than that, but we can definitely do a letter of intent if it makes them feel better. If they need to feel warm and fuzzy because they've had an offer and they've accepted it and they just want to know that you really are going to do something with it, certainly we can provide that. Sometimes, I think I've only had that happen, I think only once, and it's actually not even a big deal, because the person who actually asked for it wasn't the owner. They were just acting as a representative of the owner. So it really wasn't a big deal either way. Most of the people are just happy that somebody's made an offer on it, and they just want to know when can we, get together and close. So that's usually, and if they're still living there, they want to have time to move, and there's all kinds of things that can happen. So that's definitely something we'll discuss on a case-to-case basis. Before any money exchanges hands, before anything is done, we want to make sure that lot rent is current. I cannot stress that enough. It's just, Lance knew going in, because the lady, I think she disclosed that she was behind on lot rent. They won't always disclose that. Many times they will swear up and down that yes, the lot rent is current, whatever. And then I've had someone who found out later that they did not tell them the truth. I told them, be sure, check with the park manager. Be sure. And they weren't working with me. I wasn't coaching them or anything. It was just somebody I knew. And they didn't do it. And sure enough, the lot rent was behind. And they ended up having to catch that up before they could even get keys because the park was holding them. So please be sure, check with the park manager. Don't care what the owner tells you. Don't trust them. Even if they're the sweetest person you've ever met, doesn't matter. Check with the park manager, the park owner. Let's make sure that the lot rent is current, because that will certainly make a difference whenever, if we have an offer accepted and then we find out that they are $1,500 behind on lot rent, guess what just happened to my offer? It's either A, going to go down $1,500, or B, it's going to be withdrawn until they can figure out a way to fix their lot rent issue. It's going to go away because we're not in the business to deal with their back lot rent.
Rhonda?
Yes.
I may be jumping ahead of here,
It's
but
okay.
In the video, somebody brought up to Greg about on a lease option that the other person owns it, so they're responsible. I'm talking about the lot rent here. They brought up, what if they're behind in lot rent? How will that eventually affect you?
Are you talking about a sandwich lease option, or a lease option like you have bought it and you are acting as the bank?
We're acting as a bank.
Okay. Well, this is what I do, and you can make it work you can make it work however works best for you. But this is what I do. I have in my and we put everything in our contract, and we go over the contract with them, so that there are no secrets. We fully disclose everything. Um, if it's a lease option, you are responsible for paying the lot rent, and it is clearly written into our contract. You are responsible for lot rent in addition to the monthly rent that you pay us on whatever day that we decide on. If it's the first of the month, I have one gentleman who has to pay on the third because he gets a Social Security check and it comes in on the third. So whatever day it is, and then we put in our contract and we make sure that they are aware of that. One of the things, and I'm actually going to get there next, so I'm actually glad you brought it up.
Okay.
Is we sign all of our paperwork in front of a notary. Now, you do not have to do that at all. But when we go to whether we are buying or selling, well, actually, I take that back. Let me back up a little bit because I'm thinking of selling because that was the question. If we are buying, if they've got a clean title and they've got everything's the lot rent's caught up and everything's a go and there's no issues or anything, then I don't use a notary. But if there is a question or if there's something that's a little bit we're not sure about and we have to clean it up with a contract, then I use a notary. And that's only because it adds a little more validity to the deal. It may not necessarily be anything that's going to back us up in a whole legal sense as far as, that's not an attorney or whatever, but it certainly adds a little bit more, it makes it a little more valid because that person is agreeing in front of a notary that I have had a chance to read this, I have had a chance to ask questions about this or whatever, and they sign it in front of a notary who signs it later. So if it's something, though, that if you are selling a mobile home and you are acting as the banker, then I put in my contract that they are responsible for the lot rent in addition to the monthly rental amount of our mobile home. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But for all intents and purposes, as we are buying a mobile home, again, unless there is just something that's sketchy or something that's out there that that just we seems like we have to clean it up a little bit. If that was an issue, then we would address it in a contract and do it in front of a notary. But if it's not an issue, if I've got a clean title in their hand, if they've got keys in their hand, if we've cleaned up to making sure there's not any back lot rent, and it's a simple deal and it's cut and dry, then we just meet at the mobile home park or wherever that we decide on. We exchange money. I get make sure there's a receipt in place for that. Whether it's a napkin, I don't care what it is. Just make sure you jot it down so that everybody's happy. We exchange keys, we exchange titles, and we're good to go. Okay?
Hey, Rhonda,
Yes?
um, about the notary, can
Yes.
you elaborate on, is there like a specific real estate notary, or can it be in just a notary? Like my wife's a notary for her work, but she's not a real estate.
No, it doesn't matter. I use our
Okay.
bank account, our business account is at Wells Fargo. And so we just arrange if we sell a mobile home or whatever, if we have to use a notary for a buy, which we rarely do. But if we are selling a mobile home, and we always, always, always go in front of a notary when we sell one, or even if we're doing a lease option, we always use a notary. But if you go to the bank that you have a business account with, and I can't swear, I don't know what all banks do, but I know all the banks I've ever dealt with have will do you get free notary services there. So if your wife's got a notary, that's fantastic. If those of you who don't have a spouse that's a notary, if you go to your bank, I'll bet you that they will notarize it for free. Just ask your person to meet you at the bank at a specified time. Make sure you have a copy of all the paperwork that you need. I usually try to email them or give them a hard copy of it in advance so that they have a chance to read it. That way we're not sitting in the office at the bank and they're having to read it line by line. They've gotten a copy of it in advance to read. That way, when we are in the office, everybody's able to scan it, make sure that nothing funny's going on. I haven't exchanged paperwork or anything like that. And then they can, sign it and be done within a matter of minutes. Usually the bank will make a copy for them too, because everybody
Very
wants a
cool.
copy. Sometimes I've taken 2 copies before. I hate to do that because then the notary has to do it twice. But typically, if you ask when they finish, they'll make a copy. They'll do that for free too, because you bank with them.
Love it.
Okay. Again, if you've got anything going on with a purchase contract, that's the only time I use that. If I'm a notary, is if I have a purchase contract. It's hardly ever. You're going to start marketing. We talked about it last week. The day that you get the paperwork signed, market. Stick you a for sale sign in the window. Stick you an ad on Craigslist. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you stand outside with a sign that says for sale. Don't care. Start marketing, because even if you start marketing and you haven't done the first thing to it, you might be surprised that you haven't put it out there. You bought it for $3,000 and you put it out there for $3,500, and you might make a quick $500. You don't know. You may not, but you might. It never hurts to try. And even if not, you've started marketing it ahead so that people start calling sooner, because you want them to call sooner rather than later, because you don't want to sit on it. Go to the DMV to change your registration. We talked about that. Take your LLC, your driver's license, the title that you have, so that they can change that over for you. Start your rehab. If there's anything that needs to be demoed, or first thing you want to do is, design that budget and everything around it. We talked about that a little bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but, get your rehab started sooner rather than later. And if the deal falls through, and they do occasionally, it's rare, but it does happen with mobile homes, don't worry about it. We're going to focus on the next one, because there's always more deals. Always, always, always. I know I used to think I had to have that one, because what happens if I don't get it and then I need it? And no, there's always, always, always more deals. I promise you.
Rhonda,
Yes.
in reference to the DMV, I've come across situations where the people aren't current on their stickers.
Right.
Is there a way of checking that ahead of time?
If they've got it, I'm actually glad you asked that, and because I know we've had that problem before, but it seemed like that we were able to do the registration when we transferred the registration over to us. We didn't have a problem with it, but
Okay, so you don't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, you don't have to make up if they haven't paid for 2 or 3 years, and
We didn't, because we were
okay,
transferring it into our name. Now, I'm pretty
okay,
sure that will follow the owner or the seller
okay,
that sold it. I can't swear to that, because I'm not exactly sure how that works. I know we didn't have to, because we were just transferring everything to us, and we were starting out with a clean slate. Now,
okay.
can I swear that it happens? That's actually a really good question. I wrote that down. I'm going to ask that question and find out the answer for it. I know
Okay.
we didn't run into it, but I don't know if that's just something, I don't know if that's just a local thing or not. But I will definitely see if I can find out the answer for that. Okay, it's a very good question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Okay, whenever we start talking about rehab, write down everything that needs attention. Now, I know we took notes when we were doing a walkthrough and all that too, but you're really going to find a lot of things when you go in there to the first time without the owner being there, and you're starting, it actually belongs to you, and you're going to be fixing it up. You're going to start noticing things that maybe you missed before. Hopefully nothing major, because we're going to be trying to look for those things. But just like Lance talked about earlier, having a piece of that floor that he's going to have to replace because of leakage. So you're going to go in there with a fine-tooth comb. Start writing down anything that you think that, if it's going to need windows, and it won't be all the windows, just maybe 1 or 2 have got a broken spot or something in them, or, anything that you think that it's going to need. If you need things that you're going to need to purchase, That's going to be things that you want to stick with a plan. Try to stay with colors that you can go from home to home to home to home in, because that way if you have anything that's left in excess, you can use it at the next home. Try to stay with neutral tones and things like that. Try not to fall in love with the place that you're rehabbing, especially a mobile home, to the point that you're going to decorate it the way you would like it, because you're not going to live there. Just make it pretty and clean and nice and smells pretty and all those things. Clean cut colors, those types of things. So when you get ready to go buy your stuff, if you, like I said, if you have anything that's left over at the end, you can use it at the next place, and so on and so forth. You will not remember everything, but write down everything that you can think of, because you're going to go back more than once. But I hate to have to get in the middle of a project and see that I need something and have to run and get it. So try to jot that down. Write down what you can do, or you'll have to write it down, but think about what can you do. If it just needs a little cleanup, you can probably do that. If it needs a little paint, you can probably do that. If it needs a new bathroom or a new toilet or something installed, I can't do that. I'm going to need somebody who can. So it's going to be what can you do and what you can't do. If you can't do it, do you have someone on your power team that can? Even though I can't install a new toilet, the very first mobile home we did needed a new toilet, and Randy thought he could, but he was wrong. And so then we had to get. Here's the second thing. Then he thought, well, he and my brother could do it. They were wrong. And so we ultimately ended up having to get somebody who knew what they were doing. Even though I was pro, let's get somebody who knew what they were doing at the beginning. They were not. And it ended up costing us more money because they messed it up and it had to be refixed. And it was a mess. So I encourage you, if you don't have someone on your power team who actually can do it, it's okay to find someone who actually can, because it will save you money in the end. Okay. Develop a timeline. How quick can you get this rehab? Because the quicker it's done, the quicker we can turn it. Mobile homes are not usually too bad. You should be able to get in and out of those easily within a month. If you want to take longer than that, that is certainly your prerogative, but we encourage to get in and get out so we can get it turned and get someone in there and keep that lot rent down. So kind of get a timeline. How long is it going to take me to paint? How long is it going to take me to do this? How long will it be before I can get someone in to take care of the floors or whatever? But kind of develop a timeline in your head of what you were looking at. Talked about going shopping already. That's my favorite part. But things that you're going to use over and over again. Remember to buy extra, because it doesn't matter if you have excess at the end. You will use them at another project. Any kind of demo. Please don't tear out anything that you don't have to, because you don't want that expense. But if it's something that you see that's going to have to be the flooring, if you're going to have to put down subflooring and you see that this is going to have to come out, it's cheaper if you do it than if you hire somebody to do it. And it's not hard to pull up carpet, and it's not hard to do those things. It's messy, but it's not hard. So if it's something that you can demo, please go ahead and do so. Again, if it's something like, I know, Lance, I want to use you as an example. You had someone who was wanting to take out a bathroom for you in this mobile home, and I said, no. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. But if it's something that's, we know that has to come out, flooring or whatever, go ahead and get that messy stuff out of the way. Then you're going to start putting it back together. Try to do your floors last for obvious reasons. You don't want to mark up the floors or have anything going on with your brand new flooring. You don't want paint on them, and you don't want to have scratches or anything on your floors. So let's try to keep those to the last, if at all possible. If you have any landscaping to do, then get that done. Keep it watered and make it look nice. If you've got to trim anything back, all those things, take that into consideration. How long does it take to do those things? Probably not long if it's in a mobile home park, but sometimes you might want to pretty it up. And then, you have some cleanup. Don't leave things laying around, because when people come to look at it, you want it to look like, you want them to be able to walk in. And obviously, if you're in the middle of a rehab and that you've marketed it and that it's for sale and somebody called about it and you let them know that it's not quite ready, but they can certainly look at it, obviously they're going to come in and see that you're working on it, and it's not going to be pristine. But if you are finished with it, try to keep it cleaned up so that when they come through, they can see a nice clean area and they can picture their stuff in it, when they start to look at it. Continue marketing. You will hear me say that 1,000 times. I know you're sick of it, but it's so key to what we do. Continue building your buyers list. Keep putting those Craigslist ads out there. You want to keep the buyers list rolling. If you don't get a bunch of calls, that's okay. Just every time you get a call, that's a call that you can add to your buyers list. Renew your Craigslist ads every 48 hours. Respond to the calls. Sometimes you just need a day or two to kind of catch your breath. That's okay. It's okay. But make sure that if you do that within a couple of days, you are reaching back out to the people who are trying to get with you, whether it's call, email, or text. Let them know, you can say, I've been out of the office for a couple of days. I'm sorry. I'm glad I'm able to get back with you. How can I help you? Just be real gracious. It's okay to take a couple of days if you need it. We all need to take a breath every once in a while, but just, catch up with them as soon as possible and be very gracious about it. And communicate with me or Tony or whoever you talk to. Get with us. We want to help you. It's okay. If I don't get back with you right away, I promise you I will get back with you. My daughter, she's coming home tonight and she's got an orthodontist appointment tomorrow. So there's going to be a little while that I'm going to be out of socket. My sister's coming to Florida to visit for the next 2 weeks, and she's going to have her little boy. He'll be 2 next month. So I'm going to be, but I will respond. I may not be right on top of everything right that second, but I promise you I will get right back to you. You won't have to wait for me for a day or a week or whatever. I will get back to you right away. I will if I'm right beside my phone when it's ringing, I'll answer it right then. But, if I'm at the beach or something with them, because it's his first time to the beach, if I usually don't have my phone with me because I don't want to get sand in it. So, but I will get back with you right away. I promise.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Is there, backstepping a little bit with creating your timeline, today's software and apps and everything, is there anything available for that? That was one of the things as a builder I struggled with too, was that, you run into unforeseen things and it takes longer, but still as a guideline, a realistic guideline of how, like to put a toilet in, it's going to take a couple hours for somebody that knows how to do it. Is there anything like that out there now that you're aware of?
I am not aware of anything. Somebody else might be. If you are, please chime in. Usually mobile home is so small that, it doesn't take as long. But clearly, when we were doing the toilet issue and like I said, Randy didn't have a clue and he was trying to figure it out, and then he would get frustrated, and then he had Tim in, and they both that took a lot longer than necessary. So what should have taken, like you said, a couple, 3 hours maybe, took days, but that's only because we didn't go with the proper plan in place. But typically, if I'm going to paint and I know I've got, say, a 16 by 80 mobile home, and it may have, I don't know, 5 rooms. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I kind of give an idea. It may take me a couple of days to paint it. Or if I've got help, then clearly that's going to, limit. I'm going to have less time into it because I have somebody there to help me. So basically, it's going to be dependent upon how large area you're working on, how many people are around that are available to help you with that particular project. And if it's a project that you can or cannot, if you can't do, then clearly you're going to have to hire it out or have somebody that, owes you a favor or something that's going to come in and do it. And you need to pin them down on an exact date.
Okay.
I don't know of any apps. If anybody does, please chime in because I don't know of anything, but I'm very good at some things, but on some things technologically, I am challenged. I'm not going to lie. So I don't know of anything myself. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, marketing, I know you're sick of it, but we're going to talk about it again. You have to think, do I have a buyer or a tenant to put in it? Hopefully we do, because we've been working with it. But if you do, that's fantastic. We've done it. We've got somebody in it. We don't have to worry about it. And if you don't, which I run into that more often than I don't, even though I may have somebody in mind when I buy it, it may not be the one for them, or they may have moved on, or I don't know. There's a myriad of reasons. But if you don't, it's okay. We're going to fix it. Because that buyer's list that we've been building since the very, very first week, we're going to start working on it. We're going to look at it, and we're going to see if there's anybody on that list that matches that home. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, and that's okay. If yes, we are in good shape. If no, we're going to work on it. We're going to do that Craigslist ad that we talked about last week about being eye-catching and stand out. If you have problems, get with me. I will help you. I love doing that kind of stuff. I like to throw it out there, and I like to be creative. So we'll talk about it. We'll fix it. And you can use it as a resource. Craigslist is not only something that you can market to when you're selling, but you can use it as a resource, and I'm going to show you. And I think I had somebody talk to me, one of you guys, I can't remember which one though, that said that you were using it in this way, which was fantastic. But if you go to Craigslist and see where it says housing wanted up here at the top, and when you click on that, you're going to see a lot of people who are looking for a place. Now, these people, this says he's looking for a roommate. This one's just looking for a room to rent. This one's a nudist. They want to live in a nudist-friendly home. Craigslist never ceases to amaze, so it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I saw one a while ago because it was for a mobile home. I just have to find it. Anyway, here it is. This person, a room or an apartment or a mobile home, and I clicked on it, and they are looking for a 55 plus community that's laid back. And so they tell you they want to spend $600 at maximum. So would I be able to put them? And it said they're able to provide references and pass background check. That's fantastic. I would not be able to put them into some of the mobile home parks that charge 500 plus. But remember that mobile home park that had 258 as the lot rent? That would be a prime one because they have 258. I could charge 300 for the mobile home. That's 558. Boom, we've got them somewhere settled, fixed up. They're ready to go. So if you can use that as a resource, just like I said, go where it says where it says housing wanted. So if you're having a hard time, despite all of your best efforts at marketing, all the things that's going on, you're having a hard time getting answers to those or finding someone that's a good fit, always go to your housing wanted and look and see if there's anybody there that you can match up to your mobile home.
Rhonda, quick comment on that.
Sure.
So $600 isn't a lot, and if, particularly if they're looking for someplace nice, it might be hard to find that. But gee, it did say a place to live/share. So if I had two people in that place, then I've got a deal right there, don't I?
Yes, sir, you do. Very good. Absolutely, you do. And it's about thinking outside of the box. Chris is really good at that. It's a matter of just, if I can't make it work this way, how can I make it work? And that's an excellent way to do it. If you have REI Black Book, you can blast it out on that. Remember, if you've got that resource and you build out your campaign into that, it will blast it out on Zillow, Truly, all those third-party ones. You just put it in one time, and it'll do the rest of the work for you. We're going to talk about that more next week. If you go to your RIA groups, take flyers. You can also build those on REI Black Book, or if you don't have REI Black Book, that's okay, because you can build flyers out of Word or Pages or anything like that, whatever kind of operating system you have. Build you up some flyers, talk about your property. There's usually a haves and needs section in your RIAs, and you can pass those around and advertise your property that way. And you can also do an open house. Advertise it out there. You can put it on Craigslist or wherever you want to put it, that you're going to have an open house on whatever dates and whatever times, and just meet them there and sell your mobile home. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I've just got all kinds of questions tonight.
It's okay. That's what we're
You mentioned the RIA. I was looking at the local ones here. There's several. I mean, is there any kind of criteria that you should look at for those, or just
For me,
if it's free, go ahead and join it? Or
yeah, for me, the answer is no. There are lots of RIAs here too. I have one that I just particularly like, and I don't know why. It may just be one that one of the first ones I went to, and I just loved it. It's the and it's one that meets every second Thursday night of the month. It's like $20 or $25, or if you join it for the whole year, you kind of get a discount or whatever. You can join as a business or whatever, but it's like $20 or $25 per meeting if you pay, just when you go. And they meet. I think we start at like 6:30 for everybody starts showing up, and then the meeting starts at 7. They usually have a speaker, and then about 9 o'clock everybody breaks and they go next door to Whiskey Joe's and then network afterwards, and that's where a lot of deals are made because everybody's Whiskey Joe's. But that's one that I go to regularly. But there's lots of them here, and you'll see a lot of times when you go to them, the same people over and over and over. So
Mhm.
for me, the answer is no. I don't have any set criteria. I just know if I like it and it feels like a really good flow, then you'll probably see me come back to it. If it's one that I'm not really crazy about, you may see me go back to it another time or two. But if I still can't find a really good flow and I just don't care for it so much, I just let it go, and I just, I don't go as often as I should anymore. I like going to them. They're a lot of fun, but I just don't get to them as often anymore. But once you kind of find one that you like, you'll know. And it's not only just one; it could be more than one. Like I said, some people you'll see them over and over again. So,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. If you just showing the property and for some reason it's just not working, it's not moved, and you can't get it sold, we're going to figure out what's going on. If the people are coming and they see it and they are just not biting, we want to know why. And one of the ways we're going to figure that out is just listen to what they're saying. Are they talking about something specific that you can fix? Is it something that they can't, they don't like this piece of it, and they all say the same things. Or if it's something you're not really hearing a lot of negative things about it, but it's still not moving, then we want to look at our price. Maybe we can bring it down a couple of $100 or something like that. We'll figure it out. But the key thing on that is after you show it several times, and if it's still nobody's made an offer, we need to think about why. And we want to pay really close attention to what they're saying. If it's something that's not working with the marketing, we're going to figure out what that marketing strategy is that we're missing. All of these things, even after I come to see you and I come home, you are not alone because you've still got me, and we will figure it out. You'll give me a call, you'll tell me, you'll email me or whatever, and we will get together and we're going to figure out, is it because of something that's going on that we can control? Is it because of something that's going on that we can't control? If it's because the neighbor next door is loud and obnoxious, we cannot control that, but we can make the price right. We'll figure it out. And if it's a marketing thing, we're going to worry about that. We'll figure it out. I promise you. If we have to change it up 10 times, we'll change it up. I'll help you. Once we get an offer coming in, we're going to figure out, does that offer work with the strategy that we have in mind? If it's something that if we want to sell it for a quick turn and somebody comes in and they can't afford to buy it, but they really do love it, then okay, is there wiggle room in my negotiation to where I can lease option it to them? That's a question that we'll ask ourselves as we get to that point. Do the numbers work? When they make the offer, does the offer make sense? And am I going to lose? If I'm going to lose money, it probably doesn't make sense. So we'll think about, does the numbers work? And are they part qualified? Before we can actually collect money from them, we do want to make sure that they are part qualified. Now, we can collect a deposit or a lease option consideration from them, but let me share this little piece of information just so you can learn from me. If somebody comes, we had somebody come to one of our mobile homes and look at it, and they just loved it. That was, we were actually out of town. We were in Tampa. They called the number. They were sitting at the park, Randy left where we were at. We were actually at an event with the Downings, and then Randy left and ran down to the mobile home park and showed them the mobile home, and they just loved it and they wanted it. But it was on a Saturday, and they couldn't get obviously park qualified that day because the park manager wasn't there. So they were going to wait until Monday. So Randy, they wanted us to take all the marketing and things down so that they could we'd hold it for them. So Randy took a deposit. It wasn't that much, but took the deposit from him, and we took all the marketing down. Then on Tuesday or Wednesday the following week, we got a call from them that they couldn't purchase the mobile home because they didn't pass the background or credit check. I don't remember which one it was. And so Randy gave their money back to them. And then we found out the next week that they hadn't even been to the mobile home. They hadn't been to the park office to even fill out the paperwork to get park qualified. So we lost the few days of marketing because we took the marketing down with the option, they were going to pay that deposit. But then he turned around and gave their money back to them because they said they didn't get qualified, and he didn't feel right about keeping the money because they weren't qualified. Well, long story short, we learned really quick we don't do that it's a non-refundable option. If you want us to take the marketing for it because you want it, then whatever funds you give us is it's going to be non-refundable. So that's something that I learned the hard way. You want to get a contract on it. Remember, we talked about signing it in front of a notary. We've already covered. I won't go into it anymore, but once that day comes that you're ready to sell, we're going to, make sure that you have your bases covered, regardless of what you decide to do. Because we're going to make sure everything that we talk about is covered in our contract to protect us. Make photos, lots and lots and lots of photos. You want those before photos, especially if it's a buy and hold or even a lease option. You want to make lots and lots of photos because if something happens to that mobile home, especially if it's a buy and hold, and they leave it in a disastrous mess, you want those before photos to back you up if you need them. Okay? Protecting ourselves, that's what it's all about. And you want to hang on to the title. I think you probably know this, but I have to put it in here. Hang on to that title until the final payment is made. I don't care if it's a lease option. Don't care. I mean, if you gave it to them, you could you were the lien holder on it. That's fine. But we just hang on to ours. And, we put it in the contract that on the day that they make the final payment, whenever that is, that they get a copy of the title. Okay? Put it in the contract. And that's what we're talking about now. It's all about the contract. They're designed to protect you. When we design our contracts, and again, you'll get your real estate attorney to glance over them because I'm not an attorney. We had our attorney look over ours to make sure they were all legit. What does one look like? We've got, you can pull. I hope that all of you have gone to GregoryDowning.com. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. We try to upload documents and stuff that you can use there. There's also an REI Black Book. There's some sample contracts and things on those that you can pull from. Documents of all kinds. If you don't have it, again, we'll help you out. No big deal. But there are different contracts for rent, for lease optioning, and for selling. So they have a lot of similarities, but they have some differences. So when we get to that point that we're ready to discuss what strategy we're going to use, when we get ready to move our mobile home, we'll decide which contract is going to be in play, and we're going to make sure it's the right contract for that job. One things that you want to include in your personal contracts that if you tweak the ones that you use, that you pull off of the site or off of REI Black Book or whatever you pull it off of, and you do your tweaking to it, you want to make sure that there's a thing for the date that the payment is due. How long will it be before you consider it to be late, and what is your late fee going to be? What interest are you going to charge on that? How long is it? For 36 months, for 60 months, whatever you decide. We're going to make sure that's in there. Whether you allow pets or whether you don't allow pets. Just because the park allows pets, if you have a rental property and you don't want to have pets in it, that's okay. That is certainly your prerogative. If you have a rental property and you prefer someone not to smoke in it, you can certainly put that in your contract if you want to. If the late fees if they are included or not included, as far as how many days, how much is it going to be, does it increase by whatever. We'll figure out what your strategy is, and we'll put it in your contract. If the late, how many? Well, we already talked about that. And the non-sufficient funds fees, if they pay by check and the check doesn't clear, then how much are you going to charge for that? Because you can. You want to protect yourself, and anything that you want to address in that, you put it in your contract. Again, they are going to get a copy of. I usually try to make sure they get a copy of it at least 2 or 3 days before we meet them at the notary's office, because that way they get a chance to read it. If there's questions that can be addressed before that, and that when we get to the notary's office and everybody's signing, we are signing that we had a chance to read it, and we agreed to it, because that's also in my contract. Staying organized at this point is going to be really, really key, because you're going to start having tenants, and you're going to start having all kinds of different things going on. Now, this is what I do, and I put it in here just as this is just something I want to share with you. Whether you use it or not, it's up to you. I am very OCD, so this is a very key thing for me. I create a file for every single property. Of course, I put the address of the property on the outside of the file. Everything that belongs to that property goes in that file. Contracts, if it's emails, anything that happened between me and the former owners, me and the park manager, me and the new buyers, everything goes in that file. If it's a Craigslist ad and I've tweaked it, I might print it off and put it in that file too, because if somebody says that, well, you said it had this and this and this, but I got there and it didn't, well, then I need to go back in my Craigslist ad and see if I changed something. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just really OCD, and that's what I do. It's very important to keep copies of receipts of any repairs that you've made, because if, say, for example, you have marketed your mobile home and you say that you have had it's been, the shower has been, a plumber come in and take care of the shower if it's got something new or whatever. And then somebody comes in and says, well, you said it was new and or whatever. You can come out and say, well, here's my receipt for that. I did have it replaced. Here you go. It's all about, I'm just really OCD about protecting myself. And I want you to protect yourselves too. You want to track your payments. And how I track my payments, other than just having a copy of the receipts, I don't do receipts anymore, because we have ours is set up on a merchant account with our bank. So our lease option people or whatever, they'll go in and they can go into my website and click on make a payment. And then they make their payment online. And then I get an email to let me know that they've made their payment online. Then I have a folder created in my email account, and I just shoot that over to that folder. But I also, because I am OCD, go on the outside of that file jacket that I have just talked about, and I put down the date, how much the payment was, and, those types of things. But that's just, and I number it, because if they have to make 36 payments, then I see they're on number 3, then, I'm just OCD, so please do it the way it makes you happy. This is just my way of doing it. If a payment is late, you want to notate that, keep a copy of it for your records. I had a lady who lost her job because she works as a home health person, and the person that she was providing care for passed away. So she was without a job for a couple of months. And she'd always been very good about paying on time, never had any issues whatsoever. But she contacted me, and we were able to work with her, and we just extended her contract out for a month and tacked that on to the end. And then I made an addendum to my contract. I emailed it to her. She signed it, sent it back to me. I put it in my file. And then on the file jacket, I wrote, instead of, I think she was doing 48 months, and I wrote it and changed it to 49. And so I made, because, it's easier to do it, as for me anyway, as I'm in the moment, than to wait toward the end. And then somebody said, well, no, I paid you everything. And then we have to go back and track all of that. It's just easier for me to do it. Take 2 seconds out of my minute and my day and do it right then while I'm thinking about it. Because again, you're going to hear me say it over and over, protect yourself. Every single time, protect yourself. Take that extra couple of minutes. It will make a difference later on, I promise. Well, hope you don't need to, but if you do need to, that's going to definitely make the difference. Every single thing that we just talked about that we're doing on a mobile home, every single thing is duplicatable. The idea is that you're going to take all this information that we are teaching you about mobile homes, and the negotiation skills, the rehab skills, the marketing, every single thing. You're going to take that and repeat it over and over again, whether you do a mobile home, a single family home, whatever you do, these methods are duplicatable. So we're going to start off small with these mobile homes because they're the least risky way of doing it to get you started. And then we're going to duplicate them and do them into bigger and bigger properties and deals, so that you're constantly learning. So the education that you're learning now in these smaller deals, it's fine. Just remember, this is small. We're going to continue until we get bigger. So that's the reason we want to start smaller. It's very duplicatable, and you can transfer it into other deals. And don't get overwhelmed. You will, I promise. Try not to. That's what I'm here for. Just remember, take a deep breath. This too shall pass. Don't panic. I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I'm telling you, I know. I can say these things because I know. We're going to do it one step at a time. That's what I'm here for. Because I had the same feelings that you're having. And that's why I had a coach. And that's how I got through it. So use me. I'm your resource. I'll help you any way I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find out. I promise. This is our last real slide for this particular piece. I got a couple of things I want to talk about, but this is I want you to remember this. I always want to end our things with something motivational to keep you inspired. And I am a true believer in quotes. I love them. Some days that's all I need. The person who says it can't be done should not interrupt the person who is doing it. And I love that one just simply because you run into a lot more people who were naysayers than yaysayers. And the naysayers, God bless them, I guess they have their place. But I'm a yaysayer. And I am a firm believer that if I can dream it, I can do it. I absolutely believe that with all my heart. And I believe that for every single one of you. That's why you're here. You see something bigger. So please, please keep that in mind. I am your biggest cheerleader. Remember that. I'm saying it to every single one of you because it's true. Okay, I want to tie everything up tonight. If you have not already, I would love it if you would go to GregoryDowning.com. If you haven't joined the Entrepreneur Zone, you would make me super happy if you would do that. We are doing an SEO boost. And if you don't know what an SEO is, it's a search engine optimization. And we are really, really pushing to get Greg's name way up in the ratings on all the search engines. And I have been tasked to do that job. So I would love it very much if you haven't already to go to GregoryDowning.com. Click on the Entrepreneur Zone and register. It's free to register. It's just, basic information. And then go to the blog section. I'm going to show you because I can't stand it. So go to GregoryDowning.com, and then the Entrepreneur Zone is right here in this orange. And then go here where it says blog. So simple, right? And see where it's got the blogs that's down here. If you would do that every day or two, that would be awesome. And if you'll add a comment, because see right here, we had this one posted and it's had 130 reads since last night. That's awesome. I love that. And if you will add a comment, that will really help his SEO numbers go up. Or if you see it and it's posted, if you haven't already liked him on Facebook or Twitter or all those things, if you would do that, that would be great. Let me get back where I'm going to show you. He's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So if you can follow him on all of those or just one of them or whatever, that would be fantastic. And every single time that you see something that is posted by Greg or Tony Ray, if you would like it or comment on it or share it or whatever, anything that you do is great. And tell your friends to do it too. We are in a little bit of a competition between us to see if we can get these SEO numbers up. We are going to be devising a giveaway for our new followers or for anybody who's doing these things. We're working on it. We're talking about it. It's in the plans of what we're going to do. So we're going to do a little bit of a giveaway. I will pass that information along to you once we have all that figured out. But please, 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 please help us out. GregoryDowning.com, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, any of those things. It would be awesome. And let's try to get these SEO numbers boosted up so that we can get him on the first page, okay? And next week, this is it, I promise. I'm going to let you off of here. Our webinar is going to be from Josh Arias from REI Black Book. For those of you all who have the REI Black Book software, if you don't, you are please still join in and listen, because he has a lot of really good tips that you can use either way. But especially if you do have the REI Black Book software, he is going to be demonstrating how to use it. If you are like me, when I very first started doing the business and I had REI Black Book, I did not have a clue what to do. It was overwhelming to me. There was so much to it, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And I kept saying, there's got to be more, because I don't understand it. And so I started doing some of the trainings with them, the webinars they were doing. I went to an REI Black Book boot camp. It's amazing, the things that it will do. But anyway, since you're brand new, we were going to actually do it ourselves. And then we talked to Damon, who owns REI Black Book, and he offered to make it happen for us. So who better than to learn from the people themselves? But he's going to do next week's webinar. And right now, as far as I know, it's still June 28th. That was a date I knew about. I know that they had been corresponding back and forth. I have not gotten a change of date. So as far as I know, it's June 28th. If anything changes, I'll send each of y'all an email to let you know. But you'll still get an email invitation for the webinar, just like you always do. But he's going to talk to you about how to set it up and how to get you automated. And then they do offer webinars like every other week, and they have a lot of stuff inside the software that you can watch too. But they're actually going to be presenting next week, and I'm pretty excited about that. And that, my friends, is all I have. Do you all have any questions or anything that you want to talk about with me while we're still on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
As we've explained, I'm not exactly computer literate on everything.
It's okay, me neither.
Where's your cursor? You were saying to go to messages, I believe.
Are we on Greg Downing?
Then,
oh, right here. I'm sorry. It's right here. Can you see my cursor? Right here where it says materials.
Okay, I'm not seeing materials there.
Okay. Have you got this little sidebar on your computer or on your screen like I've got that shows?
Yes.
Okay. I've got, like, underneath the attendees, I've got activity, audio, webcam, materials.
Okay. Yeah. It's,
okay. So if you
okay,
click on the arrow, it should drop down.
Okay. Evidently mine's already dropped down.
Okay. And then where it's the Jumpstart Coaching in blue, or mine's in blue. I guess, I don't know if everybody's is or not. If you click on that, it should allow you to open that webinar up from last week, and you should be able to download it on your computer. If you can't, if something happens, and because I don't use GoToTraining enough, I just know how to use these pieces of it. This is a brand new tool for us, and we're still in the process of learning all about it. But if you can't, let me know. If you'll send me an email or a text or something, and I will try to send it to you via email and attach it.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Has anybody else got anything they want to talk about before we leave?
Rhonda, real quick, we didn't really talk anything at all about taxes.
About taxes?
Yeah, in terms of, okay, so since this is personal property, not real property, like, for example, we didn't talk about, you need to make sure that the taxes have been paid on the property. Is this something where if we buy a mobile home, are we liable for back taxes?
It's just like with your car. You pay it with the registration. Usually ours is here at the end of the year. You'll get a letter or a little thing in the mail from your DMV, just like you would from your car. And you go register it there and pay it there. And get a sticker, just like you put on your license plate that's got the year, and the month and the year. You'll get a sticker that you'll put on the window of your mobile home that will have the month and the year, and that's how you do it.
Okay.
Okay? Good question.
One other quick question. So is there like a standard place for a nameplate on a mobile home that tells you the make, model, and year?
They usually have them on there somewhere. I don't know if there's a standard place on it for them. I'm trying to think. I've seen them like just like you said, like a little plate, and it might be in the corner of the on the end piece on the corner or whatever. I don't know if there's a standard place or not though, but usually it is like a little plate that's maybe 3 or 4 inches by 2 or 3 inches, and that'll be somewhere. Kind of like on your car, it may have the dealership somewhere. Well, this one usually have a plate on it too, but I can't tell you exactly if they're always in the same spot or not.
Typically, they're on the ends, and if it's a double wide or a triple wide, each one of them is going to have one.
Right. And that's actually a very good point, Steve. Thank you. If you have a double wide or triple wide, you're going to have two or three separate registration tags that you're going to be using, because for every piece of that mobile home, you've got to have a different sticker for it. So whenever you go to register it, if it is a double wide or a triple wide, you're going to do it 3 times. You'll have 3 different pieces of documents with you. Okay. And have the stickers for them.
And another piece of that would also make sense then that one thing to do is to go back and verify that the VIN number on our title matches the VIN number on the mobile home.
Good catch. Very good. You're right. Very good. Okay. Okay. Any more questions? Go ahead.
As far as that description, as you say, it's not always there, but typically it's by your water heater or your furnace, or your more often it's by the breaker box.
Okay, that's good information to have too. Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Then I'm going to stop recording, and I wish all of you all a very good evening and a very good weekend ahead. Next week, like I said, we'll have Josh with us, and if you have any questions at all, use me as a resource. Like I said, I promise you, I always get back to you. If I don't answer the first time, I promise I get back to you. If I don't, respond as soon as possible. Usually if I haven't gotten back to you within a few hours, it's because I am reaching out to ask questions from Tony Ray or someone to make sure that I've got my mind clear before I give you an answer. But please let me know if you need anything. If you haven't scheduled a call or anything with me and you need me for that one-on-one time, please do so. And I'm happy to help any way I can. Otherwise, everybody have a good evening, and I will talk to you very soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.